My name is Justin Jackson. I'm a multiple heroin overdose survivor, and first responders administering Narcan saved my life. With my overdose, I really wasn't planning to die. That was not the goal. My goal was purely to get high, but I don't ever know exactly how much I was needing or what was in it or if there's fentanyl involved. We really don't know that stuff, so we run that risk every single time. And first responders luckily got there in time, so I'm still here today. The stigma about addicts is generally that's that homeless person outside of a liquor store, that guy under the bridge that can't do anything with his life, but that's really not the case. It's your doctors, your lawyers, your neighbors, your kids. There's no rhyme or reason addiction. I promise you it does not discriminate based on any kind of socioeconomic class or race or age. It's an equal opportunity destroyer, I promise you. It is a very slippery slope from the minute I first use all the way to the point that I'm a full-blown addict and I can't stop anymore. The thing about it is it's not a moral failing, it's that I can't stop. It's like if I didn't have food in a desert or water in a desert, I cannot convince myself that I'm not going to die by not using. On the morning of my overdose, I actually was just in a driveway. I had a friend's house. I just pulled up and was just gonna get high and called him and said, hey, I'm out here, don't freak out, and decided to mix up a shot. I got high. And next thing I knew, I woke up to an EMT at my door and a policeman behind them and just all these people all around, and they asked me who the president was. I honestly didn't know. Everyone was there supporting me. There was absolutely a million reasons in my car that they could have arrested me, but they didn't. It was all about getting me treatment, getting me help, making sure I stayed alive. I've never actually seen an officer as a friend up until that point.
You have made the noble pledge to protect our communities. A comprehensive response to the opioid crisis doesn't end with a life saved. It ends with hope for a life well lived. Law enforcement's response to overdoses continues beyond the scene of an overdose. Officers must work alongside community partners to set the wheels of recovery in motion.
It's important to remember that even after a near-death experience, opioid overdose survivors are still chemically dependent on the opioid. These victims rarely bounce back on their own. They frequently need help from family members, support groups, community organizations, and health centers to help guide them through this process. Most people struggling with this addiction are not hardened criminals. They are our friends, our family, our grandparents, our teachers, and they need our help. The road to recovery is hard, but with the combined efforts of law enforcement and our community partners, it doesn't have to be lonely.
Police officers work hand in hand with other partners in the community, helping to fight the opioid epidemic. We work every day hand in hand with firefighters who respond to the scene along with EMTs. We work with the emergency room physicians, nurses who receive the patients at the hospital after an overdose. We also work with clinicians and mental health specialists and addiction specialists in recovery centers. Once the person is in recovery, there's then 12-step programs that are available out in the communities that a person can join and partner with to help keep them on the track to sobriety.
Officers who follow up with someone who has overdosed serve as a bridge to valuable resources for accessing care, treating addiction, and staying in recovery.
Here in Georgia, we have the 911 amnesty law, which allows people who might be with a victim that is overdosing to be able to call 911 freely without the fear of repercussion or arrest. And they're able to call and actually get medical help for the victim. We can't arrest our way out of this epidemic. We're here to help, not arrest. ASSIST stands for Active Substance Support Intervention Solutions Team. The ASSIST team here at Marietta Police Department uses police officers to respond to victims of overdose here in the community. Typically, we try and respond immediately to the scene when we hear an overdose has occurred, or at least within 24 hours of the overdose. We make contact with the person, we provide them resources and information on how to get into recovery, even as far as offering them a ride there. Doing anything that we can to encourage getting them into some sort of recovery center so that they can detox and get sober.
I've been in recovery since January 15th, 2016, and I truly feel like first responders gave me the second chance at life to where I can actually pay it forward and give back to my own community. Professionally, I work as the program coordinator here at the Zone in Cobb County. That is a recovery support organization that allows people that are in long-term recovery or coming out of treatment or any stage that they're in to find the support they need and make the connections that they need to stay in recovery. In the community, I collaborate with the local law enforcement, the fire departments, and also any other first responders and try to get people as quickly as possible the support and resources they need to keep them in recovery. I've even had the opportunity to meet with the Surgeon General of the United States to discuss the heroin epidemic in my local community. So my recovery journey has given me the opportunity to support people all the way from the walking in the doors at the Zone to advocating on a national level, and all because of one single person taking a chance on me and reviving me.
This is Officer Outreach at Work. Through the complete state opioid adapted response training, you will have access to specific substance abuse prevention guidance from organizations throughout Georgia. Begin with Gypstick's Pocket Guide, a quick access guide for law enforcement. Helpful resources featured in the Pocket Guide include DBHDD's substance use resources, 12-step recovery program referrals, and the Georgia Council on Substance Abuse Cares Academy, where Academy participants become certified addiction recovery empowerment specialists.
In addition to working hand in hand with our community partners, we also do outreach within the communities to educate on the opioid epidemic and the dangers that come with that. We work closely with our schools and educating our youth. We work with our churches, faith-based organizations, Rotary clubs, scouting troops, anywhere that we can get the message out within the community on the dangers of the opioid epidemic. There are two safety precautions that we talk about with the community. Number one is a medicine lockbox for the home so that medications can be locked safely and stored properly without the risk of falling into the hands of a child or someone who may overdose. Also, within the community, there are drop boxes for medications so that they can be disposed of properly and anonymously. And those can be found at your local sheriff's office, police departments, or fire stations.
The opioid epidemic is a menace to public safety and overdose victims alike. But law enforcement's coordinated community effort toward prevention mounts a good defense. Master the training, use the 5 steps for opioid overdose prevention, and reconnect with resources to show those struggling that they can count on their sworn protectors for another chance at life.
If you're trying to help us, then please come at it from a standpoint of support. Make sure that you're understanding the terminology, not using words like addict or alcoholic. Instead, person with substance use disorder, person in long-term recovery, things like that, because it's showing that you're willing to learn something different to try and support us into recovery. We understand that if we have large amounts of substances, there's not much y'all can do, but when you have someone that you know is purely a user, being able to get them the resources they need or get them to a detox instead of locking them up, that is a huge, huge part of my story. My work with opioid use disorders never stops. I answer calls and texts and Facebook messages at all hours of the night because I choose to do this professionally and also personally being a person in long-term recovery. And it allows me to have my kids back. If I didn't meet my oldest daughter until she was 5 years old, it became a complete difference from day one with my daughter, where she was terrified of me coming into a room, to now where she freaks out when she leaves. Now I'm able to be in her life. I don't have to go away. I don't have to go behind bars. I don't have to make explanations for these long absences in her life, and I don't have to die. What you guys are doing out there is absolutely amazing, and we see it. It doesn't go unnoticed, and it makes it a lot easier for those of us in long-term recovery to convince the next person when you guys are creating a good example, and thank you very much for doing that.